I know what you're going to answer. So to listeners, longtime listeners of the show, what party wants our guns, Ryan?
The Democrat Party.
What party is sympathetic to the commies and socialists?
Increasingly, I would say that would be the Democrat Party.
So the Democrat Party wants our guns. It's the Democrat Party that's sympathetic to communists. We have an avowed communist socialist masquerading openly, as I'm not masquerading, he's masquerading as a commie under the guise of Democrat socialist. He had Bernie Sanders, an avowed Democrat socialist, means commie. Of course, he's loaded. He's got his properties and his millions. He just doesn't want you to have it. He's all happy about replacing your rugged individualism with the warmth of collectivism. What is it about the left, Ryan? They will what? Never what?
Never stop.
Will Mamdani ever warm up to New York citizens' right to bear arms?
No. Look, Mamdani's going to play the long game. And as was said earlier, I think Neil said this, right? He's very polished. He reminds me a lot of one Barack Hussein Obama.
Yeah, I knew you were going there because they're both great speakers. He's a great orator. You got to hand him that. That's how he got where he is. And he's young.
Yeah, he should not be underestimated, the appeal that the message that he has, and I think to Neil's point, the method in which he delivers that message, although we know what the end of his movie would look like, he says it with a smile on his face, and that's appealing to a generation that unfortunately has not been taught about the evils of communism and the threat that communists remain to this day to the world.
Neil, to you, if Mamdani were to not get any pushback, if there were no pushback whatsoever, and he had carte blanche, and the federal government said, we're going to leave you alone, do what you want in New York, we're hands off, would he disarm if he could? Would he disarm New York residents?
100%. Mandatory buybacks. He would somehow he would get a hold of all the gun records, and they just start knocking on doors. It'd be like what we saw in like Australia or Canada or Cuba or anywhere else that the communists are in charge.
You know, when I was at the Gun Owners of America convention in Knoxville, I had a conversation the night before I left at the hotel I was staying at with a young Venezuelan girl who was tending bar and waiting my table. She was wonderful, and I had amazing conversations with her, and her family was, and I quote her, still stuck in Venezuela. Now, I've got her contact information. I haven't yet reached out to her, but I'm looking forward to doing that this week to find out what her thoughts are personally with someone who has family in Venezuela. And I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, from the conversation I had with her, they're all thrilled that that clown is out of there. Yet at the same time, we have an American party, a political party in America that is, well, calling Trump a war criminal. You had Chris Murphy, Brad Primo, in a tweet, I believe it was earlier today, talk about how Maduro and Venezuela is no threat to America's national security. The White House Rapid Response Team interjected immediately, calling this guy sick in the head and a buffoon. And that's from the federal government. That's from our government. That's from Trump administration's rapid response. Brad, you know that if he were given carte blanche, he would do whatever. He would strip all rights of gun rights of New York citizens instantly. And again, now we're going to go to private property rights because he's already made it very clear that whoever rents property in New York is a quote-unquote slumlord. Now, Brad, let me just throw a little bit of capitalism here at you. When rent control, ladies and gentlemen, and you're going to hear a lot about this about New York City. And remember, they don't want you having firearms in public housing. They don't want you having firearms anywhere you rent. They want to keep you disarmed. The Second Amendment Foundation has successfully sued on this front in multiple cities across the country. And they will do so again, likely in New York, if this continues, because I guarantee you he's going to try to ban firearms from city-owned property, which is what he's trying to do, Brad, is take over private property. Now, he complains about roaches and rats and everything else while he wants to keep rents depressed so landlords can't afford to fix the problem. Then use that as an excuse to take it over so the city can supposedly do it. Of course, he will run that property into the ground because government can't do that. And if you want proof of that, ladies and gentlemen, how about you move out of your house today and move into a housing project in the largest Democrat-run city near you, Brad?